Said it was MHM for Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave on the YouTube.
One in five suffer.
Erase the stigma.
Brain difference is not a crime.
Mental health isn't just your problem.
It's our problem.
And now, Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave.
Welcome to Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave. I'm Dave, of course, and this is my lovely wife and co-host, Marla.
Hi, I'm Marla, and I want to just quickly give a New Year's shout out to everybody.
Absolutely.
This is our first live show we're very excited about today. And welcome to 2022.
To let you know that today's show is brought to you by Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave. And now we have a new way for you to remember that $1 today keeps the stigma away. You can text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 818-691.
Hold on, we got some
Coming up. It's
technical
brand new, so
difficulty.
it's
It's 818-698-1021.
There you go.
698-1021. 818-698-1021. Text the word GIVE, and you can participate in $1 today. Keeps the stigma away. Our guest today is Rachelle Harjo. She's a mental health and a substance abuse counselor, as well as a registered nurse. Like most of us, she and her family have had to deal with issues surrounding mental health, but she is a part of a club that no parent actually wants to be a member of. She lost her beautiful son, Jair, to suicide, and today she will share her story with us. Please remember that the reason we share our stories with transparency is so that others who may be dealing with a similar issue can know that they are not alone. You are not alone. So we're going to show a quick video, and we will come back with our guest, Rachelle Harjo.
Jair Harjo was an accomplished athlete: football, basketball, taekwondo, even paintball. He excelled at all of them. Jair was quiet, humble, but he made friends easily. His 1,000-watt smile was impossible to miss.
Every time I was with Jair, he just always had a smile on his face.
This room full of grieving friends, teammates, and their parents, hopeful sharing Jair Harjo's story will spark an important conversation about teen suicide.
There literally just wasn't anything. There was no indications that I saw anyway.
Jair came home from basketball practice, ate, and went to his room. Nothing out of the ordinary until police pounded on the door. They'd been told Jair was threatening suicide.
As I'm going down the hall, running down the hall, I heard the gunshot.
The message from a grieving mother: talk to your kids, be involved in their lives, even more than you think you need to. Meet them on their terms, whether it's through video games or throwing footballs.
I felt that I spent time with Jair, but I could have definitely spent more time with Jair.
Don't wait to tell them how much you love them and are proud of them. Knowing that could turn a child away from suicide.
I thought, or I felt, that I was very involved with Jair's life, but maybe I needed to be more involved.
Jair was Muskogee Creek and Choctaw. His Creek name is inscribed on his tombstone. It means wolf is not mad. Jair, a gentle wolf whose absence is keenly felt.
Hey guys, listen up. Learn something.
All right, welcome to Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave. Rachelle, thank you for agreeing to spend some time with us. Man, in that video, you can sense that Jair seemed to be like a very happy, just a beautiful spirit. And tell us about how it was with Jair growing up.
Well, he was very driven, very involved, very active. Every sport you can think of. As he got older, he really did it on his own, where, when they're little, you kind of have to push them.
Yeah.
You have
Absolutely.
to train them. You have to, take them. You have to whatever. But the summer before he passed, I've never seen a kid so driven, just on his own, out in the yard, running his own routes, lifting weights, just working out completely on his own, all by himself, making up his own everything, pattern, everything for football, because he wanted to be a starter and he wanted to be the best and he wanted to do it. And he was, 14.
So Rachelle, I have to ask. So Jair was the baby of. Was he the youngest of 3?
Yes, he was.
So he has older siblings.
Yes, and he has some step siblings or half siblings also on his dad's side. But for our 3, Jessica's 20 and Anthony's 27, and then Jair was 14. So.
All right, so we know that you had a sort of a anniversary that no one wants to look forward to as January 3rd passed, which was the anniversary of Jair's passing as well. So tell us about the fact that it seemed like with all of the positivity going on in his life that even as a counselor, there were no signs there that you could have picked up on.
Yeah, so, things you normally think about with somebody having mental health, whether it's sadness or not wanting to get out of bed or maybe not eating or drug or alcohol issues or anger or attitude or, just different things, maybe not having friends or not being outgoing or not smiling or just any little things that you might think of. There never was. He was always smiling, and you could ask any of his friends and teachers and everybody he was always smiling, and his smile lit up the room when he came in and, and things like that. And then he played every sport. And so he was very active, very busy. He had really good grades, had a really good relationship with a girlfriend, and they weren't fighting, and he got along with everybody that I know of, had a best friend, had a good relationship with me, good relationship with his dad, good relationship with, his siblings. So it just little things that I would have noticed or paid attention to, like even something simple, like if he didn't eat, you're like, are you okay? Or something like that. That was very far and few between. So, it just, I just didn't see anything. Obviously there was something there, but because you don't get to the place of committing suicide without it having been there, but little things that you might have been able to pick up on, or even big things, or conversations or statements or notes or just whatever, on and on and on, that you can think of that you would want to pay attention to and watch for. Like there just wasn't.
Yeah, it seems like that would be something that you replay over and over in your mind, just to kind of double back and see was there something that I missed.
Yeah, that was something that I think that on the other side sometimes we always say hindsight is 20/20. So, and these are the things that parents are desperate to be able to figure out if there's anything. What else can I look for? So. You're saying that he just that just didn't exist with Jair.
Yeah, I mean, there could have been some things, for example, like maybe some of the social media pieces that I wasn't privy to. Like as a quick example, I'm not on Snapchat.
Right.
And of course, all the kids are on Snapchat.
Right.
And TikTok and things like that. So, there may have been a few things there that, that I just didn't see, or that, multiple accounts or, or something like that. So I definitely tell people, do pay attention to those things. I did have access to, his emails, to his phone. He didn't hide any of that stuff, but there wasn't anything there. As far as looking back later, and he didn't give me a reason, for example, to be checking his
right
phone.
Exactly.
He wasn't in trouble anywhere. He wasn't hanging with the wrong crowd or whatever to make me even worry or be concerned or
so when we come back, we are literally going to kind of get into the day that you had got the news and you were rushing in to try to intervene. And we'll let you tell that part of the story, and we'll continue the conversation. We thank you so much, and our hearts and prayers really go out to you and your family on this occasion. We'll
Absolutely.
be right back.
When Dave and Marla get together, it's hot.
You may not realize it, but these words, often used to describe someone with a mental health condition, can be very harmful. In a country where 1 in 5 people are affected by a mental health condition, it's time for all of us to step up and change the conversation. Just because someone's struggle isn't obvious on the outside doesn't mean they aren't hurting on the inside. We need to see the person, not the condition. Join with me, pledge to be stigma-free.
It's time for the Mental Health Minute with Marla and Dave.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, is a real illness. You can get PTSD after living through or seeing of traumatic events such as a war, a hurricane, being the victim of physical abuse or rape, or a bad accident.
PTSD makes you feel stressed and afraid after the danger's over. It affects your life and the people around you.
Actually, we were literally going to be talking about another disorder as well, bulimia, which is an illness which a person binges on food or has regular episodes of overeating and feels a loss of control. The person then uses different methods such as vomiting or abusive laxatives to prevent weight gain.
The disorder is most common in adolescent girls and young women. The exact cause of bulimia is unknown. Genetic, physiological, trauma, family, society, or cultural factors may play a role. Bulimia is likely due to more than one factor.
In bulimia, eating binges may occur as often as several times a day for many months. Binges lead to self-disgust, which causes purging to prevent weight gain. Purging may include forcing yourself to vomit or excessive exercise, using laxatives, enemas, or diuretics.
So here on Mental Health Monday, we always would like to remind you, if you or anyone that you know shows any signs of bulimia, please seek professional help immediately. Brought to you by Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave.
David is a thinker.
I never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically wear my personality on my sleeve.
But when Marla and Dave get together, it's like a match dancing with a firecracker.
So Rachelle, I'm going to jump in here, and before we open up the emotional space that I'm sure is going to make us all pretty choked up because it's hard to deal with, period. I
won't promise I won't cry.
It's okay. You don't have to promise that.
We're with you.
Yeah, for sure. But what I will say is, I just wanted to be sure that you can give a bullet point as to who this young man was, just in his, when I say bullet point, we've kind of been talking about it, but just the essence of Jair. Like, you know, when we say Jair, when the name comes up, you know, what does it mean to you as his mom? Does it bring laughter? Does it bring, like, because he seems amazing. Like there's a picture. So
yeah, that's my favorite picture.
Yeah. To say Jair, was he a joker? Like, give us a couple of highlights that just will leave an imprint, a footprint of Jair on our hearts.
Really, really big heart, really, really big smile, and just like friendly and there for everybody and willing to help and go the extra mile to be there for somebody. Whether it was throwing the football because a teammate was needing to practice, or playing basketball, or various sports. But he was always there for other people and always had a smile, you know, high five, a little fist bump. And he was quiet. I would say he was pretty quiet, but.
Would you describe him as an introvert?
Kind of. I would say kind of middle. Yeah, like it was like one of those things, you know, like when you see him with all the guys, you know, of course it was a little bit more rowdy and rambunctious,
right.
You know, than it is with mom, you know.
Right.
Indeed. So, right quick, another aside, I know with a lot of, in the African-American community, in the Latino community, and communities of color, there's a lot of stigma associated around mental health. Would it be the same, in your opinion, with the Native American community?
Yeah, I would, unfortunately. So obviously I'm a mental health counselor, so it was a little bit different in, my perspective and what I thought and what I felt and talked about and my opinions and things like that. But even coming from like his dad's side, who's, Creek and Choctaw, that was just, that's not something you did. You didn't go to a counselor. You didn't ask for help from a counselor. It was very, this is in our family. We deal with it inside our family. We don't tell other people our business, those kind of things. And so, even conversations that we would have in the home, of course, was like, okay, it's like in the home, you're not supposed to, go to a pastor or whatever, which is stuff I would do. I would go to a counselor. I would go to a pastor. I would go to my best friend.
Right. You reach out. You come outside of yourself and you reach out.
Right.
So let's talk about on that day for you with Jair. And I'm just going to leave that there to discuss however you would like to discuss.
Okay. I think one of the hardest pieces was that, that whole piece of their not really knowing anything of what was going on. Because literally he had basketball practice that day. It was a regular, normal day. He had basketball practice. It was like 2.5 hours of basketball practice. So he was running and he was going and he was playing and he was shooting and he was sweating and all of those kind of normal things. And then when he came home, he's telling me about it and telling me about his shots, and things like that. I wasn't with him. His dad was with him at practice. And then he's hungry, and so we had dinner. And if I remember, we had hot dogs that night and he always ate a lot of hot dogs. And so he ate like 4 hot dogs or 6 hot dogs or something. And so he was just like normal in that sense, and he took his shower and then he hung out in his room and, the doors are open in the room. He even came out at one point. It was probably about 8:30 or so that night. And he was having some problems with his phone. So he was like, "Hey, Mom, can you help me?" And so I was helping him with his phone and helping him fix something on his phone and whatever. And we were kind of joking and laughing and about it and stuff, because here he was usually the one that knew how to do all those kind of things. And then I went to bed, I want to say probably around 9:30-ish. I'm not exactly sure of the timing, but I'm a nurse, so I have to get up really early. And so I'm usually in bed somewhere between 9 and 10. And I had my phone on vibrate. And so at some point in this evening, like later in the evening, 10 o'clock, whatever it was, he had told his girlfriend on the phone, she was out of town, that he was going to, he was like, he broke up with her and they hadn't been fighting or anything, but he broke up with her. And then at some point in there, he said that, that he was going to end his life. And so that started a whole cascade of girlfriend talking to her mom, like everybody trying to reach me. Then it got to my daughter because the girlfriend knows my daughter, and them trying to reach me, and nobody could reach me because I'm asleep. And so then my daughter's at work and she calls 911, and I don't know what she said or anything like that. I just know at approximately about 10:30 at night, my husband and I were woken up to the banging and pounding on the front door and flashlights and a whole group of cops out there. And they're like, we've got a call. Do you have a teenager? That that you have a 14-year-old? Yes. That's threatening suicide. And I took off running down the hall. His room's on the other side of the house. And about halfway down the hall is when I heard the gunshot.
Mercy.
And so I was the first one to him, and my nursing kicked in.
Wow.
And just, started, checking on him and checking his vital signs and talking to him and, trying to stop the bleeding. And one of the cops was really close behind me. And so then they were, calling for the ambulance. And yeah, I don't even know how to explain any of that, except that they were trying to get me away, and I was like, no, yes, I know I'm mom, but I'm also a nurse.
Right.
And so I was able to stay until the ambulance actually got there and was able to actually take over. But it wasn't like doing CPR or anything like that. It just literally, bleeding everywhere.
Yeah. So we want you to know that, man, here in the studio, we are figuratively wrapping our arms around you and giving you a big hug. And like we said before, our hearts go out to you. We'll be praying for you and the family. We can't imagine what it must feel like to be in your situation. But we appreciate the fact that you're actually using this type of pain and transparency to help others who might be in a similar situation. We'll be back with more with Rachelle in just a minute.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it's time for the poll question. I guess the last time we were here in studio, or we did a show live, the question was, what is the number of U.S. adults?
Oh, I don't have to dance this year.
Yeah, it's not really a dancing kind of day, I don't think.
I had fallen asleep because I was expecting to be called on to pole dance, and I'm really on strike. There's no pole. So.
Yes, you're off the hook today. So the question was, what is the number of U.S. adults suffering with schizophrenia? Your options were either A, 500,000, 500,000, or B, 1.5 million, or C, 3 million.
And I think we left us hanging with the Hammonds.
I'm pretty sure we
but
did.
Becky
That's
Hammond,
how we do
exactly, and AJ. And I believe one of them did guess it right, and one of them guessed it wrong.
I think it was Becky, yeah.
So the answer is B, if you guess B, 1.5 million.
Is the number of U.S. adults suffering with schizophrenia.
The new poll question is, what percentage of U.S. adults suffer from anxiety disorders?
Your options are A, 19%, B, 27%, or C, 34%.
Correct. And we would give you the answer, but we'd like to give Rachelle, would you like a chance to stab at that just for fun?
What percentage of U.S. adults suffer from anxiety disorders? 19%, 27%, or 34%?
I'm going to say 27.
Well, you know what? There is an answer, but we're not going to tell you until next week.
and we want you guys to remember to text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, for our $1 Today Keeps the Stigma Away campaign. And the number is 818-698-1021. Text the word GIVE to 818-698-1021 and donate your $1 today.
Join our fight. Let's donate that $1 and so we can keep the stigma away.
Absolutely. We'll be right back.
Okay, we're back. So I have just a couple of questions. I think the one thing that I am pleasantly surprised to hear that because there was no history, it seems like someone was able to relay an urgency on some level. The thing that actually startles me about your story is that help showed up to your door.
Yeah.
Just with a call of a threat, which is amazing. In itself. Was there anything else that I may have missed in that story as to why that they,
the breakup?
Well, but yes, but what I didn't hear, and that's why I'm asking Rachelle, because what she was saying is, he broke up with his girlfriend, but it didn't seem to be a traumatic. He just broke up. with her.
I mean, I'm guessing, because obviously I don't know, I can't ask Jair, but I'm guessing in the sense of like he broke up with her in that, like, I know I'm getting ready to do something.
Right. He didn't want her to suffer.
Right. They hadn't been fighting or anything like that. It wasn't like it was leading up to that point, is how I took it and how I understood the story. And it, kind of came out of left field, basically. Kind of like that little thing that sometimes people hear and talk about and happens, like when people start giving away their possessions or they start, doing those kind of things. If somebody's getting ready to think about doing suicide, he hadn't been doing that, but that's all that I can relate to in that piece of like, okay, I'm going to end this relationship with my girlfriend.
And so there's also no, on either side, there's no history for the family of any type of mental
suicidal ideation.
So my immediate family, so for example, my mother, as an example, has had, I'm sorry, she has passed, schizophrenia and some severe depression. I would say my father also experiences some pretty serious depression in the last few years, but it's also additionally increased because of my mother's death. But and I believe there's family history of anxiety and things like that, as well as in my immediate sphere of family. But as far as like, I'm not aware of anything with Jair's father. He was in Vietnam, there was some pieces there. But and I've had off and on areas of depression in my life that, I think is, people have that in your life,
Sure.
But as far as anything real direct or real specific, like with Jair as an example, like, we never, he wasn't in counseling. He hadn't, been seeing a school counselor. He hadn't been in trouble in school. He, those kind of things.
So this kind of brings up actually a query that I have that I would ask the three of us. Do you think that it's maybe time to generally add a conversation of just mental wellness in general in the family, almost like sex ed, like you
almost
have
like in the educational system.
But also just at a certain
wellness,
point that there becomes you make a child aware of a mental space that also needs to be cared for or
and opens
talked
a line
about.
of communication. I think that'd be a great idea.
We do it with sex education. I just a question. It's not. I don't have a program in mind, but my brain just thought about it, and I was thinking, what if it was a common thing, the same way it's common for every parent to talk about puberty?
Well, I know one thing that I've been very happy about with all of this that's happened since, really trying to, talk to all of his friends and the parents and the school and like now today, as an example, the local television station, did a piece on him and all of that, which you had a clip of that. Is that I've had lots of people, even his friends, parents and stuff, coming up and saying, now we've been able to talk about some of these things,
right?
Wow.
That we hadn't, or maybe you thought about. So for example, like Jair and I would talk about those kind of things, about feelings, expressing feelings. I literally had a conversation with him about a week and a half before this happened of, if you have a bad day.
Yeah.
Oh, so
we're gonna
Rachelle, hold that right there.
And hold that thought.
And we're going to come right back.
Quick little break, and we'll be right back.
Bad.
What are you doing?
You're worthless. Don't trust them. They'll hurt you. You're worthless. It's pointless.
When the pain of schizophrenia meets hope, everything can change. Help someone who is struggling by supporting the National Alliance on Mental Illness and be a part of the NAMI effect. Hope starts with you.
It's raw, real, and unfiltered.
All right, we had to cut you off right there a little bit. We apologize, Rachelle, what you were saying about the conversation that you were having with Jair.
Yeah, just like, if you have a really bad day, if something happens, whether it's school, relationships, whatever, like, what do you do? How do you handle it? Who do you talk to? Like, who is your go-to person? Who, whatever. Like, so it was just a more generic conversation, because I knew obviously all of us have feelings and emotions and bad days and tough situations and anger and stress and frustration, and we're in COVID and all this kind of things. And so it was just that kind of general basic conversation. I do wish that I had made it more specific, that I had gone into, what if you're actually thinking about not being alive or not wanting to be around, or committing suicide, or so I do wish that I had gone a little bit further with that conversation. But we had at least talked about feelings and emotions and who do you talk to, and what about just having a bad day, and your life sucks right now, that kind of thing. But I literally was not thinking about suicide at all with him, period. And so that would definitely be, I would make it more specific.
So if you had to say one final message that you would want us to take away from your story, your testimony, your experience, what would that be?
I would say, if you're having any kind of thoughts, feelings, emotions, bad day or whatever, like, reach out to somebody and find a way to say something to them, give them a chance to help. That's the biggest thing that I felt through all of this, was that Jair did not give anybody at all, not me, not dad, not brothers, sisters, best friends, girlfriends, teachers, nobody. He didn't give anybody a chance to help. Because he did not say anything, and so I would say, please let somebody have a chance to help.
All right.
Indeed.
You know what, Rachelle? Thank you so very much. I know this is. I don't take for granted the energy, the sacrifice that it took for you to actually come and continue to share. But we at least now all have been exposed to Jair, and we can hold him, and he's a beautiful child, and so
thank you.
We will keep him, literally, this is a conversation that we can keep going, and keeping somebody's memory alive is the big thing. So we appreciate you more than you know, and we thank you for coming.
All right, we will see you guys next week. Our guest will be Carolyn Griffey, who was a member of the soul funk group 𝘬𝘕𝘢, and we're going to have a great discussion with her next week. Remember, text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 818-698-1021 so that you can give your dollar today to help keep the stigma away. Rachelle, thank you again. Our hearts go out to you. We are continuously wrapping our arms around you.
And I have to tell you, once you come on the Mental Health Monday, you become part of our family.
Absolutely.
So welcome.
And we will see you guys next week.
Appreciate it.